All right, here with Sean Pierson. So, Sean, you made your UFC debut, UFC 124 in Montreal. Do you feel any different now that you are a UFC fighter?
I don't think I feel any different. I think I really notice the public perception of me is a lot different, but
Right.
myself, I'm no different than I was 2 months ago. Just a little bit prouder of myself and everything that's going on, but I'm the same guy.
Now, people talk about getting jitters the first time in the Octagon. Did you experience that, and how did you overcome it?
I don't know if I overcame it. I got it. Like I was nervous well before my fight even started. I got the shakes a little bit. Again, I don't know if it's because I'm fighting or if it's just because I'm at the UFC, but there's a lot of pressure on you. You need to perform. You want to perform for everybody, friends and family, everybody out there. Um, and like I obviously I fought well, and I got my win, but I think it affected me a little bit. I think my heart rate got too high during the fight, especially between rounds. Like I'm sort of in awe of the whole event, but it worked out well. So I'm glad the first one's done and over.
Now, GSP, a fellow Canadian, was also on the card. Did he give you any tips before the fight at all?
For sure, like we talk a lot. Um, and we went through things, and he tried to, this is what's going to happen, this is what it's going to look like. We did a couple things beforehand. And we're always visualizing like how the fight's going, but we don't always visualize how the crowd's going to affect us. So it's one of those things you just take a note. It's going to be loud, and definitely, I remember halfway through the second round, I could hear the "Let's go Pierson" chant, and it sort of just took me back for a second. Where I'm like, hey, that's my name. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's a great moment for me, and it was a great experience.
And now your walkout music was "Power" by Kanye West. Why did you choose that song as your entrance music?
I don't know. I've been changing my songs up lately, and to myself, like what the song means and doesn't mean. It was just about. I just like how the song starts. No one man should have all that power. Basically, just saying it's me versus him. You know what I mean? No one's
Right.
invincible in that octagon. I know I was a 3-1 underdog, but to me it was just saying go in there and he's no bigger than me. He's no better than me. Just go in there and let's do it.
Yeah, the fight itself. What were your thoughts on in terms of what you did right, and what are some things you'd like to improve on?
Well, my biggest improvements are easy to point out. Like I want my cardio to be top notch next fight, and I don't think I had poor cardio that fight. I think the bit of an adrenaline dump. I didn't pace myself very well in the first round, nor should I really have to if I'm in great shape. But it started to wear on me in the third round. I even knew in the second round I started to pace myself, knowing that if I kept up my first round pace, I wasn't going to survive. So I got behind a strategy. I'm like, okay, let's stay standing. Let's keep the jab out there, and it was working great. But I want to fix that. I want to be able to compete like I did in the first round in all three rounds. I've got a full training camp this time, so I think I should be able to do that. I've adjusted some small training things. I've worked with my strength and conditioning. We know what we're going to work on and how we're going to approach this differently. Things that I did well, I stuck to a game plan. We told ourselves we knew that cardio might be a factor, and we knew Riddle had top-notch cardio. So we knew that if we turned this into a wrestling match where we thought I should win the wrestling portion of this fight, but it's still a lot of hard work. Your bigger muscle groups are involved with your legs and core. It's going to tire you out quicker. So we said let's try the standing game first. If we're winning the stand-up battle, let's counter wrestle, and that's what my game plan was, and I stuck with it for 3 rounds.
Yeah, Riddle was quite a tough fighter. What were your thoughts on him as an opponent?
I thought he was a great first opponent for me. He was real tough, and he pushed the pace. Like by the second, third round, he kept coming at me, and I kept on my jab and stuff, but he was there to fight, and he really pushed the pace for me. So it made me take a look back at myself and say, what do I need to fix, which is great.
And what did Dana White say to you after the fight?
I know Dana said great fight, but people always ask me, they're like, oh, what was the experience like? I think the whole thing was surreal to me because I don't remember a lot of stuff. And it's not because, he had a concussion. It's just everything goes by so quickly when you're there. So there's moments I know I saw in Dana's video blog. I remember, him walking past me, hey, great fight and stuff. But there wasn't a lot of one-on-one time with, Dana, Joe Silva, or anybody else. Like, come on, I didn't even get to meet Ariana Celeste. I'm like, this is crazy.
Now up next is UFC 129 Toronto. Do you think fighting in your hometown is going to give you a boost in your performance?
I think so. It's a huge motivating factor. Again, I've always wanted this. I now have the jitters sort of out of the way. I know what it's like. I know it's going to be twice as big, but it's going to be twice as big for him as it is for me. Like he hasn't been in a stage this big either, so we're both going to face the same sort of challenges, and I just can't wait. Fighting in front of my home crowd is huge.
Right, it's going to be Brian Foster. What are your thoughts on him as an opponent?
I think the UFC's not being very nice to me. I thought Riddle was tough. I think Brian Foster is super tough as well. I've actually just watched a few of his fights recently, and he's a real tough guy out there. He throws heavy, got some good wrestling for a non-wrestler, and he's out there to fight. So he just got a great record, and again, it's a fight. Getting thrown to the wolves. Let's get out there and perform.
What do you feel might be your best strength in this fight?
I'm gonna always have to go back to wrestling. I haven't even really showed it yet, but I'm hoping that I out wrestle Brian, but again, I don't know. It's one of those things when you fight, everything gets thrown out the window. It's like you have a game plan, but his game plan might not adapt to yours. It might be one of those things where you're forced to do something different.
Right.
So I think me and Brian, we're both guys that like to fight. Neither of us like to go to decision, so I think it's going to be fireworks.
And are you a fighter that looks at a lot of tape of your opponent and tries to come up with a very detailed strategy on how to win?
No, I don't. I look at fights, don't get me wrong, but I'll let my trainers look at more tape footage than I will. For me, everybody can change so much from their last fight because we're all learning so fast. Like, I assume I've seen Brian Foster's last 3 or 4 fights, and he's improved in each fight. So I'm going to anticipate that he's going to improve even more for this fight. So, you don't know what's he working on entirely, what's he changing up. It could very much be that, his stand-up game is that much tighter, or his ground game is that, I don't know. So I just go out there and I have to put on what I do best forward and see what happens.
And who will you be training with mostly for this fight?
Like always, I'll be training here, Grant Brothers MMA with Ryan Grant. That's me. Mainly my stand-up. I got Sam Zakula doing mainly my ground stuff, and I got a lot of training partners for that. Brockman Martial Arts helps me out. I'll make a trip down to TriStar and train with everyone down there again. Us Canadians sort of stick together pretty good, so I plan on having a great camp.
Yeah, I was also wondering, when you had to make the choice between continuing fighting and joining the police force, did it cross your mind to quit fighting at any point?
Yes and no. It's one of those things where you have to think about it, because in my head I'm like, you don't know how long this can last, right?
Right.
The UFC is the number one organization in the world, but if you don't perform like you should, you're going to get cut. So I've got no long-term, security here. With the police force, sometimes there's obviously a great job there and there's security there, and you've got to think about it. But for me, following a dream is what I need to do right now, and that's where I am.
And finally, UFC 129 in Toronto. What can fans expect from you on that night?
I think we're going to see fireworks. I think Brian's going to bring the fight, and I'm going to bring the fight, and you're going to see 2 guys just banging it out in the middle, and we're going to see what happens from there.
Very nice. Well, congratulations on all your success, Sean, and we're very happy that you decided to continue fighting, and thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.